What is going on, you Stallions and Stallionettes? AK40 Kevin here in the gamer heaven. So Google is being sued for their Stadia division for overpromising and under-delivering on performance in games. Google's also shutting down their first-person studios, so we're not going to get those titles that they had promised. However, the Stadia is not quite dead, and I don't think the idea of cloud gaming is either. However, it's just not ready, not at this point in time, and probably not for the next 7 to 8 years, to be quite honest. Let's talk about it. Alrighty guys, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we're going to get started here. So I have a couple of articles pulled up here. I've made some highlights of some key points that I wanted to mention. I just found out how to highlight text on internet browsers. It's super cool and it's easy too. It's just like a plugin for Google Chrome. I'm sure Firefox and other browsers have it as well, but you literally just highlight whatever you want and then right click and hit highlight and you can change the color of it. And even if you close the website and then pop it back up, your highlights are still there. So for somebody like me that does a lot of news and covers a lot of articles in the gaming community, this is going to be really cool because I'm always digging around or control Fing trying to find like statements and stuff like that. So that's really cool. So Google Stadia, in case you guys don't know, was launched in 2019 and it was supposed to be the best, most seamless cloud gaming experience. And in case you don't know what cloud streaming is, it is more or less, you can think of it like Netflix for gaming. You basically have a service, an application that you launch on any TV, any device in your house. All your game save files are backed up to the cloud, and you have a huge library of games that supposedly run as good as a high-end gaming PC without having to have any physical equipment yourself. So you don't have to spend money for a big, expensive console or gaming PC because it's all handled on their servers. You just get the application and the controller more or less and subscribe to the service and you're good to go. Unfortunately, it hasn't really worked out like that, not just for Google with their Stadia, but also, I mean, cloud gaming's been around before Google jumped in the game. Nvidia has had the GeForce Now experience for quite some time, and there are other little smaller venues out there where you can cloud game. And I'm going to cover at the very end of this video why this just isn't ready to be a thing yet. Cloud gaming is not ready, and it will not be ready for the foreseeable future. But first of all, I want to cover what's going on specifically with Google and their Stadia. So there's now a class action lawsuit against Google, their Stadia branch, and this lawsuit is on the foundation that they made false and misleading claims, which they certainly did. I'm going to give specific examples here. And of course, all these articles will be linked in the description below. I always do cite my sources in case you guys want to read to find out where I got my information from, and also just to read the whole article and educate yourself more on the topic than just the summary I give during my videos. So the basis of this class action lawsuit is that Google made false and misleading claims when it came to streaming performance quality. So they were pushing these advertising campaigns, these marketing campaigns, saying that you don't need literally one of them was that you don't need some big expensive high-end gaming PC to run Red Dead Redemption 2 at all ultra settings. They were claiming high-end PC performance for Red Dead Redemption 2, this specific game. And Digital Foundry did a test on this game as well as several other titles on the Google Stadia, and it was well underperforming what they were claiming. Like, well, it was performing with perfect internet conditions, you know, connected to Ethernet with about a gig down and substantial up. They were getting about Xbox One, PlayStation 4 performance. So not near a gaming PC, not nearly. And besides just the graphical fidelity and peak performance, the actual playability of it was substantially less than what they were claiming. 90% of users, including a lot of YouTube content creators that bought the Stadia specifically for content's sake to test for their viewership and whatnot, were showing how laggy the experience was. There's a lot of input delay and lag because your inputs have to go from the controller to the device to the server, the cloud server, back down to register to your character. So it's a lot that has to go on when with a native gaming console, especially if you're playing a story-driven game in an offline campaign, your inputs are almost instantaneous. By the way, if the lighting's doing weird stuff, I'm just using pretty much natural light for this video. I have my window opened up here, so the sun's kind of shifting through the clouds right now. It's a beautiful scene, but it might make the lighting a little bit weird. I do have my Elgato key light over here illuminating my face from this side as well, but in case the lighting's not, you know, top notch, this isn't Michael Bay's studio. This is my game room. So there is a lawsuit because of that lack of performance that the general user is not going to have a very fluid or seamless experience. In fact, a lot of games, just like when you try and run Netflix on a poor internet connection when you're visiting a hotel or something like that, it's all pixelated. Sometimes it takes forever to load up a title, and that's just a movie, a 2-hour movie. Imagine trying to load up an entire game plus your save file, and then not to mention, like I said, your input has to register up and down. It's just a lot that needs to go on. And this lawsuit also draws Bungie and ID Software into the mix as well. So they're also pulling in the developers of games for the Stadia, saying that they were also not being upfront and honest about the performance of their game on that particular platform. So games that were playable on PlayStation and Xbox, they were saying that it runs just the same on Stadia, and it was proven during testing that that was not the case. And the lawsuit quotes that they are engaging in unfair and deceptive trade practices concerning the advertising, displayed quality, and resolution of games distributed by Google Stadia. So that's pretty insane. Not only is the actual console developer, Google, being sued, but also some of the game developers for their platform, because they knew blatantly that the advertising campaigns, the marketing, were hype or gimmicks or just blatant lies, and they let those get released to the public and let people believe, oh yeah, I don't need a gaming PC or an Xbox. I can get a $70 Google, I can get a $75 Google Stadia controller and have the same performance. And even with peak internet speeds, which a lot of people don't have, I'll cover that later, they were not getting that fidelity in their gaming. And because of this lawsuit, and also the fact that Google has decided to close their first-person game developing studio, a lot of people are saying that Stadia is dead. Now, that's not necessarily the case. These two articles here are specifically showing why the Stadia is still a thing. It's still a viable gaming platform for the people that are looking forward to the experience of cloud gaming, because there are people that are passionate about the project and the idea. The concept is really cool. When I cover why cloud gaming is not ready, I am going to cover why the concept itself is actually really cool. And when it is able to be implemented properly in about 7 to 10 years, it'll be fantastic. It is pretty much the future of gaming, or a good portion of the future of gaming. Obviously, consoles and PCs, I think, are still going to be in the space, in the gaming community, in the industry for a long time. But I do think cloud gaming is also going to have its foot wedged in the door as well. So this article is a little bit older, at 21 days ago. Google shuts down its internal development studio to divert all resources to enticing third-party developers to launch consoles on Google Stadia. So all those exclusives that Google was developing for the Stadia, those are no longer going to be a thing. None of those really excited me to the point to where I'm going to talk about them in this video, because they were rather underwhelming, to be completely honest. But what they're trying to do here is to get third-party developers to start launching games on their Stadia. Now, they don't say here, they don't specify if that's going to be exclusive Stadia titles, or if they're just saying, hey, we know you made a PS4 and Xbox version, can you make one for the Stadia too? Either way, I think game developers will be open to supporting the Stadia platform, but it's going to take a lot of pocket greasing for them to get exclusives from third parties. For developers to not put games out on Sony and Microsoft and just go straight to Google, that's going to take some serious Google money, which obviously Google's a massive, massive company. They have money to toss around, and it seems like they do plan on tossing around a lot of funds at their Stadia division. They are serious about this cloud gaming thing. Game over for Google Stadia? Not yet. That's just good journalism. That's just fine writing right there. It really draws you in, grabs your attention. I like it. Having games streamed to any screen is the future of the industry, and we'll continue to invest in Stadia and its underlying platform to provide the best cloud gaming for our partners and the gaming community. This has been the vision of Stadia since the beginning. So again, the idea of just being able to walk from your living room into your bed and play a little bit, and it seems Google says right here that they do still plan on supporting and investing in the Stadia project. So what does this mean for Stadia going forward? Well, it means we won't ever get those first-party games that Google promised. Parentheses, bummer. Again, I don't know if they're being sarcastic here, or if the publicist here is actually being serious, but those games didn't look that great to begin with. Now, coming over here, I had to go with a pink highlight here because the black background was actually, it made the text unreadable. So this is important right here to kind of the last article for the video to kind of close out this video, because it ties everything together as to the future of cloud gaming and Google's vision for Stadia. They are not giving up on the project, and in fact, they're still all in. In November, Google's Jack Busser. In November, Google's Jack Busser shared that Stadia's roadmap for 2021 and beyond included a whopping 400 games set to launch on Stadia. So it definitely seems like Google is still invested in the project, not only with their time and energy, but also with their money too, which obviously Google has a lot of. And they're serious about cloud gaming. They do believe that it is the future of gaming. However, it really isn't ready at this point in time, guys. So the concept itself is really cool. Like I explained, being able to bounce from room to room with just a controller in your hand, having a massive library of games, just like Netflix, where you can browse. Oh, that's a cool thumbnail. Oh, you read the description of the game. That sounds fun. And bam, you're up and playing it, right? And you don't even need to download the game because it's not stored on the physical hardware of your console, your little box and controller. It's literally over there in their servers. So you just instantly select a game and you're playing it. So no install time, no downloading updates or anything. Well, it'll still need to do updates, but that would be on their servers, which obviously have massive bandwidth. It'd be lightning fast. You'd have all your save games backed up in the cloud. So obviously, if your console broke or something, and you know you're not screwed, you have all your game progress saved on their cloud. You can just sign in again on another Google Stadia, and you're good to go. And the fact that you would be able to get very high performance, so flagship console and PC-like performance, with basically a controller and an application. Granted, it hasn't been executed like that thus far. They've been promising that, and we haven't seen that yet. But it's not ready, and here's why. There are still several geographic areas, even in North America, right here in the United States, where people are still on borderline dial-up internet speeds. Not everyone has a great internet connection. Just because the majority of you guys watching right now, as you're able to watch this YouTube video, you're probably in an area that offers pretty good internet. And a lot of my viewership, at least my typical viewership and subscribers, are gamers and whatnot. So you probably have a good internet package for streaming and whatnot. But a lot of people don't. And if they're trying to make this worldwide, there are definitely areas of the world that have very poor internet or borderline no internet. Also, even if the capability in internet was there, you also have to think about the general gamer. A lot of people don't like the idea that you never truly own a console or games. You don't own any game that you can sell back to GameStop or to a buddy to get back some of your money when you're done with it. You don't own a physical console that you can pass down to a little brother or something like that and, you know, have in your room as like a little piece of tech that you're proud of. You don't really own anything besides the Stadia controller and the application. Also, since everything's handled on their servers, from games to everything, your saves and all that stuff, if there's an error where there's even just updates or maintenance that needs to go down their servers, you're left ungameable. As where if you have a console, granted, if there's an update to a game you play, you can't play online, but you can still play the campaign or offline, any story-driven game. There's plenty of people that don't play multiplayer games. They just play story-driven games on their console offline. Granted, you need to install it once, but then it's on your hard drive on your console and you own it, and you don't need to be really connected to anything to play it. And worst case scenario, if this fails, either Google Stadia or NVIDIA GeForce Now, and they shut those servers down, you don't have anything. Granted, you just invested in a controller and a subscription service, but that controller is now useless. I doubt they're going to buy it back from you for the $75 or whatever. So that sucks too, is that you'd be left completely out of pocket if they were to just completely give up on the project and shut their servers down, which at this point in time, it does not sound like they're trying to do, but just something to keep in mind. You know, even if Xbox or PlayStation shut down their servers completely, you'd still be able to play your offline games and stuff and watch Blu-ray movies on the disc player and use it as a Netflix and YouTube streaming device. It'd still have more value to you than a big paperweight. So I do think the concept of cloud gaming is really awesome. And I do think in about 7 years or so, I mean, that's my personal prediction here, is probably at the end of this console generation, which is about to be probably about 6 to 7 years or less. Sony and Microsoft actually said it would probably be less than we experienced with the 8th generation of consoles, which is the Xbox One and PS4. But I would say at the end of this console generation, maybe cloud gaming will start becoming more viable. A lot of other YouTubers out there, like Rich from Review Tech, says 10 years at the soonest. 10 years at the earliest, cloud gaming will become a viable option. I'd say a little sooner. I'd say at the end of this console generation, where that's 6 or 7 years, cloud gaming might be at the point to where performance really is on the level of consoles and PCs. But we'll have to see, guys. Drop in the comment section below your thoughts on cloud gaming. Do you think it's ready now? Do you think it's going to be ready in the near future? And if you enjoy this video, liking it helps it to get seen by more people. YouTube does me no favors when it comes to ticking the algorithm, so you guys kind of have to do it by liking the video. Also, subscribing from this specific video does help my channel to get traction. And if you want to be alerted as soon as my new videos are online, you also have to click that notification bell next to the subscribe button, and that will notify you when new videos come online from your boy here. All right, that's going to do it, guys. Peace. Peace.